Hey, welcome back. Design Elements and Principles, week 8. Welcome to week 8. This is a funky week for us. Just to let you know, you do not have, well, shit, sorry, you didn't have classes yesterday, sort of, uh, or kind of you did. We have classes today. The school is closed Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to have a pre-recorded course from me. I think I'm going to pre-record them. And then so we can carry on and move forward. It's all going to be cool. It's all going to be fine. Don't worry. We're going to do great. But I want to make sure everybody knows that. So you need to pay attention. And if you didn't know, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. Now you know. I'm letting you know. So we're in week 8. And we're going to have Tuesday's assignments and Thursday's assignments. I'll just briefly talk about it. Today we'll go over all 3. These are super simple assignments, maybe even half an hour a piece. They shouldn't take you the full hour. And then Thursday's assignments, this is a big new one. That'll be a lot of fun. And then it's your textbook. So you'll be fine with this. So like I said, this week is going to be a little bit different. We had to mess up yesterday. Today is a normal class. Wednesday, the college is closed. Thursday, you will get a pre-recorded lesson because kind of the college is closed on Thursday, but we're going to carry through. We're hearkening back to that 1 week where we didn't have any classes, and I said, don't worry about this class. Now it's payback time. But beyond this, it should be normal from here on out. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff to work on. This is week 8, so we start to work on 2 new projects for the rest of the semester. There's going to be a poster project and a pamphlet project. We're going to start the poster this week. We're going to start the pamphlet next week, and then we're going to alternate each week. We work on one, put one away, and work on another. And that just gives your brain time to think about things, work on things. It's going to be a lot of fun. These always turn out really good. I'm really excited for it. Today, you don't have to learn about any design elements, any design principles. You're going to learn about a layout and the layout and how the layout works. So that's today's big thing. And then we're going to go through 2 layout assignments and 1 the final design practice. So that's it. As we do with every week, make sure you fill out your attendance by the 19th. Let's see, what do we got for today? What is a mock-up best described as? Well, if you go backwards, a mock-up is not a rough sketch. We talk about rough sketches. Actually, we'll be talking about that on Thursday, a thumbnail sketch, and that's just a quick idea giver to a client. A color swatch is a color swatch. Wireframe diagram is used in a web design mostly, where a wireframe shows the client like what each page will look like without fulfilling each page. So it must be a realistic representation of a design. And that's what a mock-up is. We hit that. We do all 5. We use the internet if we need to. Those are all words you should start kicking in your head a little bit. Yes, if you're more than one class of mine, they repeat. But it's just good to know them. And it's the way I take attendance. It's just easier for me to take attendance. Let's jump on in. Let's talk about the layout. Here is the layout defined. Now I have these in alphabetical order, not in order of importance. There's 2 kind of really, they're all important. You know what? Nuts to that. I was going to say there's kind of some that are, margin is the biggest one, but they're all important. They're all important. So let's dive in. Give you a little lecture. Don't worry, this shouldn't be as long as the normal ones. And then we're going to start. It should be, I say that now. I'm like, oh, it'll be a quick class, but I'll probably keep you an hour. All right, the layout defined. First thing we talk about is the artboard. So the artboard is standardized. On every program that you use, you have an artboard. The artboard is the area into which you work. It is defined by usually just a black edge up here, nice and easy black edge. You know, here I'm making my teal. It goes all the way around, and what's ever in here up to this edge gets seen by the consumer, or the client, or whoever. The artboard is the edge. So think of it as you pull out a piece of paper, that's it. The piece of paper, you're donezo, right? That's the artboard. But because it's digital, and it's not because we're digital, it was in the old day. We don't think about the space beyond the artboard. That's what normal people, we as designers, now think about what's inside and what's outside. So the artboard is just the definition of the area that the people and everybody else sees. That's it. So it's the artboard. InDesign has an artboard. You can do multiple pages. Photoshop has an artboard. Even Google Slides, like everything we've been using, it's the artboard is the part that we see. Geez, Joel, you're really into the artboard. Bleed. This one is super important. This starts to delve into the importance of being a graphic designer and understanding what we do, why we do, and how we do it. So we design on a bigger sheet of paper than is required from the artboard. So I want you to think about it that if you told somebody, I want an 8.5 by 11, that's a standard piece of paper, okay? This is 8.5 by 11. Design. And they would come to you and be like, super designer, I need a 8.5 by 11 flyer for my garage sale. And you're like, yeah, sure can. It's going to cost you $1,000. I'll do it. Great. All right, cool. What you actually design is on a page that is larger, and it would print larger than 8.5 by 11. Usually 11/17. It's the next size up. Those are horrible. So you design beyond the artboard. Why is that? Because when we want to do something like have full color to an edge, or say a picture at the edge, or anything else that we want to touch the edge, what we really need to have happen is that color needs to go past the edge all the way to the bleed mark. This photo, I'm going to switch it over here, actually needs to extend all the way to the bleed mark. So we do this. And it would go all the way to the bleed. Why is that? Is because when we cut it, machines cut these out. And you want color all over the edge. And machines and people are not as accurate as we think. And so you can't, if you only had color right up to the edge of the artboard, one, a printer can't print all the way to the edge. Two, you could print it on a larger sheet of paper, but then you have to guarantee the person or machine cutting it out can be so accurate that you never get any white left over. So what we do is we just extend everything all the way to the bleed. No matter what it is, if it touches the edge, we just go right to the bleed. And it's extremely important. If you're in my Illustrator class, I talked about it. If you do a background, it goes all the way to the bleed. You're going to start hearing me talk about that more and more as we move on. The bleed is vital importance into a design, and it seems awkward. Oh, I make the background bigger than it needs to be? Yes, because then when you print it and it gets cut out, you have room for error. You don't have to be as accurate because you have fill that goes beyond it. And there is a shift. This does happen, and that's why in graphic design we use bleed. So in every document that I set up, I have bleed. Even if I don't go, even if you're like, I'm 100% sure I want a white piece of paper and nothing's touching the edge, you still design, you still put in the bleed. It's a safety net. It's a safety net. And you have to just start doing it for every design. You just, well, how do I, you just start doing it. You have been told that from this point on, you should always add a bleed. no matter what. And guess what? Illustrator, InDesign, automatically it happens. I don't know if you can add it in Photoshop, but Photoshop, you have to like physically add it, sort of, it's called. They don't just throw it on, or not that I know about. But here's the thing. Me personally, I don't use Photoshop for final designs. I would use it for like the background. But then if the background has a 1/4 inch bleed, I just add a 1/2 inch to the size of my Photoshop document. And when I place it in, it will include the bleed. That's it. So that is bleed. Crop marks. Crop marks is where you are telling the person who's cutting your document out where to cut it. So in combination with the bleed, when the crop marks are on here, when they cut it, they are cutting up to your artboard and leaving the bleed behind. But if there's a shift when they cut it, which could shift up to like 1/8 of an inch sometimes, which is quite a lot, you're still in good shape. But these are just indicators. Hey, printer, you're going to print on an oversized piece of paper because I have image that goes right to the edge. This is where you're going to cut it. And you put in crop marks. And I teach how to put in crop marks. Yeah, you'll know how to do them. It's very easy. It's part of a layer. You add it to your layers. In Illustrator and InDesign, it automatically adds it. But they're also known as trim marks or cut marks because that's where it's going to get cut out. I know this seems crazy, like kind of talking, because we're so used to, I just print on an 8.5 by 11 or piece of paper. But from here on out, when things get printed, they get printed on an oversized piece of paper, and then the correct size gets cut out from there. We're going in, this is like the professional, you know, like it's up a notch. We're not talking about coming out of your little home printer. Though here at school, when I print something, I print on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I print that onto 1117 with bleed and crop marks, and I cut it out. And then that's how you get those amazing looks. That's the next step up in design. When somebody says like, oh, that's so cool. How do you get color all the way to the edge? You can explain. You actually print bigger and then cut it down. It's not even cutting it down. You just print bigger with the bleed. So all these work in tandem with each other. You have the artboard, you have your safety bleed, and then the crop marks, which cut it out. So that way, your artboard, everything that you have touching the edge will touch the edge and look perfect. There won't be any white line going down because things got shifted. Usually if it gets shifted, there's two edges that are white. And that's what the crop marks are there for, to indicate to the printer where to cut it out. Grids. Grids are for you. You, the designer, can use grids as much or as little as you want. I am not a grid user, but you can turn on grids, turn off grids, develop grids, and have grids used in any way. I mentioned grids in, you talked about grids in, which unit was it? Was it 6? It was recently. The grid. In unit 6, we talked about the grid and the importance of the grid in design. And that's what we're just talking about here. Why is the grid important? Well, if you want to use it, I use columns. I'll use columns, which is kind of a grid, column grid. That's mainly the most one I use. There's a part of me that really loves a grid and wishes I used them more. But I don't know why. But I think grids are used, in my mind, a little bit more on multi-page documents where you want to keep consistency across like a booklet in every page, you know? I don't generally use it too much because I use all the other indicators in a regular design, which is the next one will be margin, or I think, or no, guides and then margin. So use grids as you feel fit. You can turn grids on and off. And if you're like, I don't want to say like so-called like a sloppy designer sort of, grids is a great way to start like honing you in. Guides, these are what I use. These are when I say pull a guide, and we'll start that today. I'm going to show you how to pull a guide. You bring it in from your ruler, and it's just like pulling a little straight edge reminder. Nobody sees it but you. So like same with the grids. You can turn the grids on. Nobody will see the grids but you. Even like this. Nobody sees the bleed but you and the printer. Nobody sees the crop marks but you and the printer. No one sees the grids except for you. Guides, nobody sees the guides but for you. So you could have 1,000 guides on your piece to make sure that you have stuff like how you want it aligned, and they will never show up. They won't show up in your piece at all. So like you could have a picture here, and I use the guides, and like I know from my guides that all of these are perfect. You know, they're set up, they all line up, they're great. You pull a guide from a ruler. When you turn on the rulers, you can go over to the ruler, click on it, click and drag over, and you'll pull a cyan colored guide. I use guides in every design. I teach you, as we start to develop processes, to at least pull one guide so you know exactly where the center of your artboard is, and I do that myself. And it's just a good understanding. Like for me, it's a good starting point. Like, okay, I know where the exact middle is. Let's start the design. And it may also just be psychological, where I'm putting something on the page and it helps me get started, though I generally draw stuff out in advance. So the guides are there to help you just make sure if I have something up here and I want to make sure that down here it's in perfectly aligned, that's what you pull a guide for. And then you can be like, oh, this needs to move over just a bit. That's what the guides are for. It's just to help you really line things up and make it perfect. Margin. This is so important and so overlooked. And I actually grade down if you don't get this right. The margin is what we call the safety space. So when I was talking about having the bleed, in case there's a problem, like we have bleed that goes over, well, if I cut on my crop marks and I cut in too far, I have the bleed on this side, which will compensate that. But if I have something that's very important into this margin area, it may get cut off. And so what we do is we establish a margin, and the margin we call is our safety zone. Nothing goes beyond the margin. Why is that? Because it might get cut off. And so we're just creating a little bit of an area, and we mark it with magenta, and I have you do this on every assignment, and nothing important goes beyond the margin. Text stops right there. If you have text writing, it stops right there. If you have a photo of a person, you make sure that their head does not get close to that margin or go past it. You don't want to cut off an ear. We don't need any Van Goghs over here. So the margin is a safety area. Now, why is this important? Well, one is I talked to you about the cutoff. So if the cropping and the cutting of the crop is a little bit off and it shifts over and you have something of importance here, like, I don't know, some people like to start to put words right there. Well, part of your letters are going to get cut off. The other one is, this is a standard margin. In a magazine, what's going to happen is, well, I'll make it magenta. Why don't I make this magenta? Oh, that's the closest color I can get to. Is you'll have a margin that's thicker at the spine. The spine is the middle of a magazine, or open a book. The middle of the book, when you open it in half, is called the spine. And as you see the pages, I'll do an exaggeration. All right. So there's our book. This is the spine. And what happens is things get in there. Things get right tight in the middle. So what you do with a magazine is they'll have on one of the sides, they'll say the margin here is twice the size as it is over here, because we don't want any of your information going into the spine and getting glued together. Or say you got some sort of like crazy new billboard that's going somewhere and being printed, and they're like, the frame comes in 2 inches, like we print the document at this size, the frame comes into this size, so your margin is this. And they're telling you all the important things you need to know. So you'll be like, why is the margin 2 inches in from the sides? And it'll be like, because there's going to be a frame. And when we put it in, some guy just slides it in, and it may be a little bit crooked, it may be a little bit off. And so no important information will get lost if you don't put that important information past the margin. So the margin is just stuff like color goes past it, images go past it, but never like text. Unless it's like a cool, like you have a giant letter and it can get cut off, stuff like that. There's some artsy-fartsy stuff. So there we go. That is the layout defined. So the things you need to know about is the artboard. The artboard is your standard working area. It's the part that the client and the consumer sees. What's on the artboard? We have the bleed. That is the stuff that we have shoot be off the artboard to keep so we can have what is called edge-to-edge printing. It's called full bleed printing. It goes by a bunch of different names. And so when you come to that and you go to whatever it is, online printer, and they're like, if you want full bleed, it has to be blah, 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 then you know what that means. Full bleed, off the edge, color all the way to the edge of the document. Crop marks are there for when somebody cuts it out. The printer, whoever that may be, needs to know where to cut it. And crop marks, what I don't have in here is a die line, which I really should, but die line is covered off in the packaging department. Grids is used. You use the grids as you see fit to help you design. I showed you the books on grids that you can get, the PDFs. They're very interesting. It's got some great stuff in it. I just don't tend to use them that much. Guides, like I said, I use guides every document, no matter what. I pull guides. And the margin is what I think is one of the most important items you need to know. Not only does a margin work on the layout, margin needs to be equated when you're doing stuff like a photo and text. You need to create a magical margin. If I have a photo of something, it should not be touching the text like that. It should be away from the text, which would be a margin for that little piece. Nothing should ever touch anything. And then, and that's it. Any questions on the layout? Well, let's make some, hey? Let's make some layouts. Super easy, super simple. We'll start with Illustrator, then we'll do InDesign, and then we'll do our InDesign practice. All right. Tuesday's assignment. Oh, I should reverse. I'm going to reverse these. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do Illustrator first, though. It's actually the longer of the two. So all you need to do is in Adobe Illustrator, we're going to go through and follow these exact directions. And I'm going to do them with you right now, and I'm going to read through each one. So I'm just going to pull this off to the side. And I'm going to open up Illustrator. And I'm going to show you what to do. So we need to create a print document that is 24 inches wide by 36 inches tall. So I'm going to click on New File, Print. I'm going to change some stuff here now, okay? I'm going to be dealing in this area for a bit. First one I'm going to change is it's on points, and I want inches, all right? Make sure that's the number one thing you change, because I'll know right away. Somebody's going to come to me and they're like, my thing is so weird. And I'll be like, oh, you made it 24 points by 36 points. That's about an inch by an inch and a half. We want to be in inches. So you have to pay attention to what size is the document going to be. That's vitally important as a graphic designer. Somebody's going to send you something and it's going to be a mess of numbers, and they're going to be like, oh, you made it the wrong size. Now we have to charge you to fix it and blah, blah. And by the end of it, you lost all the money that you were going to make on the design because you screwed up the very first thing, which was what is the correct size for the document. So make sure it's of vital importance. Inches, I'm going to go 24 wide by 36 tall. All right. We want to have one artboard. We don't need to worry about the orientation, but it is portrait because it is 24 wide by 36 tall. The bleed, that's bleed right here. The document needs to have a 1/4 inch of bleed. That's 0.25. So I'm going to just click on it and go 0.25. Now I'm going to hit tab. And when I hit the tab on the keyboard, all of these filled in with 0.25. And that's going to create that magenta bleed that we talk about. Nothing should go beyond the bleed, right? Just remember, bleed is bad. Nothing should go beyond it except for the background, like big things. Now I'm going to check down. And that's all we do on this page. All right. And then I'm going to hit create. Now we are going to create a layer called margin. I'm going to double click on this layer and call it margin. And I'm going to create a box that is 22 inches wide by 34 inches tall. Now what I can do is I just drew a box. And I'm going to go over here to my sizing, and I'm going to go 22 tab 34. This shows the exact size that this box will be. All right, see that? Now we need to do a couple things. I'm going to make sure that as I step down that I'm going to click on the fill and go to nothing. That red line indicates that there will be no fill, not white. We do not want it filled with white. The second stage is I'm going to click on magenta under the stroke. I'm going to click there and I'm going to click magenta. Why magenta? It is the industry standard. We always do it. And I'm going to update these instructions a little bit, okay? Just to make sure that everybody understands. And I'm going to make sure that it's 1 point. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to step down and I'm going to make sure that this is aligned and that this is aligned. All right. So that makes sure that this box is perfectly centered. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, well, I'll follow this in order and just going to update this a little bit, make it clear. Now we can close that. Now I'm going to create another layer by going down to the plus mark at the bottom of my layers palette. I'm going to go to the plus mark, layers to the plus mark, and I'm going to double click on that and I'm typing crop marks. All right, so I have crop marks. Now I'm going to draw another box and it's going to be the exact size of the artboard. And if I mess up, that's okay. So I'm going to type in 24 by 36 in the transform area under properties. This one will have no fill. This one will have no stroke. Very important that you take the stroke off of the crop marks layer. Otherwise, your image will have a magenta line around it. We don't want that. It'll have no fill and no stroke. Now we got to make sure that this box is perfectly centered. So I'm going to click on this one that has perfectly centered, and I'm going to click on this. This is perfectly centered. This centers items within the artboard, or you use it later on when you're doing better designs and you can align objects together. Now, the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to click on this FX button. See, fill, stroke, opacity, FX. And the third one down is called crop marks. And it's going to automatically add crop marks. Your crop marks may look different than mine. That's okay. I use something called a Japanese crop mark. It's not a big deal. If you're so-called interested in that, just send me a note and I'll tell you where to find it to change it. Now, there we are. Now we're going to deselect the invisible box. So all I did was clicked off of the page. All right. Now I'm going to turn on the grid, view, and I'm going to scroll all the way down, and I'm going to show grid. Right? Show grid. View, all the way to show grid. Now it says hide grid, but view, show grid. I'm going to go to ruler. So view, ruler, show rulers, view, rulers. I'm going to hide it. And then I'm going to view, rulers, show rulers. See how they pop up from the side here? Now I want to pull guides. And I'm going to go on the ruler. And I'm going to click and drag. And there's this little gray line. I'm actually going to turn off my guide so you can see. Or turn off my grid. Oh, it's not letting me do it. Okay. Too many commands at once. So if I grab the ruler, I'm going to click on that ruler and drag. I still have my click down, and there's that little line. And I'm going to go, and it should lock in the center. And when I let go, I have a cyan line. And I'm going to do it from the top. I'm going to click and drag from that ruler down until it hits center. And I'm going to let go. All right? Then I'm going to go to view, and I'm turn on guides again. Or grid. Now I'm going to close this layer, and I'm going to lock it. Now I'm going to create a layer called logo. Now you can move these layers around as you need. At the very end, we're going to rearrange, but we'll keep it for now. So I'm just going to create a layer called logo. And I locked it. I'm going to go down here. And I'm going to create another logo called images. And I'm going to lock it. I'm going to go down to the plus. I'm going to create another layer called, I go down to the plus. I double click on that name. And it's going to be called paragraph. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to hit the plus, double click, dates, plus, double click, headliners. Make sure everything's locked. Now I'm going to move the final step. Or second final step. I'm going to move margin to the very top. And with the margin layer selected, meaning that it's light blue. See how mine's light blue? I'm going to go to this hamburger menu. And I'm going to go to template. This is of vital importance that you do that so the margin does not show up. Now with everything done, I'm going to click on headliners. I'm going to click the plus. I'm going to double click and type name. And I'm going to use the type tool. I'm going to click once. I'm going to type in my name. And as I know how to make type bigger, I'm going to hold down Shift, make my name big, and I'm going to center it perfectly on my guides. And as you can see, those little magenta items show up, and you have created your first layout in Illustrator. So you're going to save your file, right? So File, Save As. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and it's going to be, oops. JSCAJA underscore poster underscore layout. And I'll hit save and OK. And then make sure you save this. You're going to need this in the future. And then I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As. And it keeps all that. But I want the format to be a PDF. Export. I want it to be smallest file size. Make sure you view the PDF after saving. And then I go to marks and bleeds, and nothing should be checked. Export PDF. And then if I zoom out and see it all, that's exactly what you should see. If you see anything else besides your name, go back and follow the steps again. If you see a magenta line here, a magenta line here, any kind of lines, it's not right. The PDF should just be your name perfectly centered on the artboard. If you have questions about it, just let me know. All right. I'm around. Let me know. Close that up. Now we will go to the InDesign file. This one is actually quicker, though it seems like it's not. Oh, this is double pager. That's why. All right. So we're going to open up InDesign. I'm going to go to New File. I'm going to create a print document that is 8.5 by 11 inches. All right. But it's actually 11 by 8.5. So what I'm going to do is simply click on this orientation and have it switch it. I want it landscape. I want it 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. Wide. So it's landscape, not portrait, landscape. It's like we're going to end up folding a piece of paper in half, and that's going to be a pamphlet that we're going to create. The number of pages I want is 2. All right. Facing pages, you can unclick that. Unclick facing pages at this point. It's not important for us to have facing pages. Turn it off. Here we go down. Now we're going to go down. We're going to set our margin at 0.25. And I just hit tab. Margins 0.25, and I hit tab, and they all set up. I'm going to select the bleed, the first one, type in 0.25, and hit tab. All right. That's it. And then I'm going to hit create. Now I'm going to zoom out. Zoom out. So you can view, zoom in, zoom out. Use your shortcut keys to learn how to zoom in and out. All right. Now we're going to turn on the ruler. My ruler is already turned on, but if you go to view, hide rulers, view, show rulers, view, show rulers, and we're going to pull guides. Now turn on the ruler. Now we're going to create a layer called guides. Excuse me. So I just double clicked on this and I'm calling it guides. I'm going to pull a vertical guide to the exact middle of each page, and then 2 vertical guides 1/4 inch away from the middle guide you just pulled on each page. One will be on each side of the middle guide. So here we go. It sounds confusing. It's not. So I'm going to pull a guide to the middle. And it locks in, like right when I get to the middle, it will lock in. And I'm going to pull a guide and it's going to lock in the middle. Now I'm going to go to the magnifying glass and I'm going to zoom in. And I zoomed in enough to know that this guide is at half-inch mark. And then I need a guide on the 1/4-inch side and the 1/4-inch side. So I'm going to pull a guide and stop when it's at the 1/4-inch. See right there? And I'm going to pull a guide and I'm going to stop at the 3/4 inch. Now I pulled those, I'm outside of the artboard when I did that. So when I go down, I want to do the same, be outside of it. 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch. What this middle one, that is the spine that I talked to you about earlier. All right, so I created a layer called guides. I pulled a vertical guide to the exact middle of each page, and I pulled 2 vertical guides, one 1/4 inch away from the middle guide that I just pulled. So you'll have 3 equal guides, all right? Then I'm going to pull 1 horizontal guide to the exact middle of each page as well. Ooh. There we go. So yours should now look like this. I'm going to lock that. And now we're going to create a bunch of layers. This is going to be called photo. I'm just going to hit the plus. Create one that's called name. Going to hit the plus. Create one that's called images. Hit the plus. Create one that says paragraphs. Hit the plus. Create one that says site. I'm going to create one that says pages. Now on pages, we're going to create 4 type boxes and label them as shown on the image. So we're going to scroll down to the image. And if you click on it and you can expand image, you are going to label it. You are going to make text boxes that look like this: back cover, cover, page 1, page 2, and your name. All right. So pages, I'm going to lock all of my tabs there. Go to pages. I'm going to click on the type tool, and I'm just going to create one type box. You click and drag for the type box, and this is back cover. And if I was so inclined to be fancy, here's a good way. I'm going to pull that to here, pull this to here. Now I'm going to get my box perfectly centered, all right? Then I'm going to go to my paragraph. Is there one up here? I'm going to do 2 things. I want to pull down. For my paragraph, I wanted to click in the middle. And then if I go up here, these little 4 indicators, I'm going to click in the middle. Now, since I have one done, I just have to go copy, paste, and I can move it over and put it exactly where I want it. And I'm going to delete cover. I'm going to grab both of these. It's like click and drag through both of these. I'm going to go to copy and then scroll down. I'm going to click on this artboard. I just tap once and go to edit, paste in place. And this is page 1. I'm going to select that one and go page 2. And we're done with that one. And then I'm going to create one final layer called my name, right? My name. And then I'm going to simply, if I just hit paste, edit, paste, there we go. And I can delete one of them. And here, I'm going to type in my name. There we are. So then all we're going to do is I'm going to hit File, Save As. And I'm going to save it as _ pamphlet _ layout. I'm going to hit Save. And I'm going to go to File, Export. And I want to change this, there, PDF print. I'm going to hit Save. I want smallest file size. View PDF after saving. I'm going to go to marks and bleeds, make sure nothing is set. Hit Export. And there you go. This is what it should look like. You shouldn't see anything but just the names and the titles. And there you go. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. Please ask. Please let me know. All right. Final one. Final little thing. Design practice. This is your final design practice. This is about Paul Rand. Let's download this. We've done this a bunch of other times. We should all know how to do this by now. We open up our downloads. We double click if we're on a Mac. We right click and extract all if we're on a PC. And we double click on the Paul Rand. Now, there it is. We have the background. We have the text. We have a title, but we're missing everything else. Let's put that all in. So photo, let's find his photo. So photo, file, place. I'm going to go to my downloads, Paul Rand, links, and I want the PR photo, open. Click on that. Oh boy, that's huge, hey? That's huge. I'm going to make sure that my little grid up here has the left top dot selected. I'm going to type in 25 into that marking. And you know what? I'm going to do it again. I'd rather have it too small than too big. Excuse me. Now I'm going to take Paul Rand, as we all know how to do, put him in his spot. I'm going to click on the free transform tool. I'm going to hold down the shift button and make it the correct size. Photo is done. I'm going to go like top to bottom. I'm going to do the title. Now I'm going to zoom out. When you see that happen, I'm using my quick keys, my shortcut keys. Instead of me having to go up and find things, I like to use quick keys all the time. I'm going to zoom in. Let's just use the arrow key and nudge it. There we are. The next one is body copy. Let's bring in that body copy as we always do. Should fit perfectly. I think I got to change my incrementing. All right. Examples. I'm going to zoom out because I know these examples are going to come in big. That's a little bit too far out. We have 3 examples to place in. I'm on the examples, file, place. Example 1, 2, and 3. I am going to click on the first one, hold down shift and click on the third one. Hit open. And I'm going to click once, twice, and a third time. I'm going to grab all three, and what do? I make sure that's there, that's there. I'm going to go to 25. Again, why do I do that? It just speeds up a process. Like, instead of me monkeying around and making one smaller and size and smaller, it just speeds things up. And then I'm just going to grab one at a time and go to free transform, make it the perfect size. Ooh, we got to do some cropping on No Way Out. We crop, we don't squish. I'm going to drag that IBM poster in. I'm going to cute that as IBM. Get it? That was revolutionary at the time. Make it perfect size. Then for the No Way Out poster, I'm not going to squish it, scrunch it, squash it. I'm going to first, I'm not on the free transform tool. I'm on the regular select tool, because then when I select an edge, what it does is it actually crops it. So I'm going to crop down. I'm going to get it like exactly to those edges. All right. And then I'm going to move that into place. And now I'm going to go to the free transform tool, grab the corner, and make it the appropriate size. I'm going to bring in the background, and I'm going to line that up. So this is what I talked about when I talked about the layout. This background goes to the bleed. This imagery, none of the text goes beyond the margin. So you can see I put it into place already. And I'm going to turn off, copy this exactly. That's not needed. We don't need to see the blurry type. And there you go. And that's how you do the final design challenge. What is it called? Practice. Save it, export it, upload it. You're done. So that is that. So that is today's class. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, of course, please reach out to me. Please let me know if some of this doesn't make sense. I'm going to double check that writing. I've rearranged some of the writing in the past. I'm going to make it a little bit clearer for that assignment. Make sure you got it 100%. I'm going to do that right now. And then again, Thursday, you will have a pre-recorded lesson where we will go over Thursday's assignments. Nothing changes except you will watch it and do it from your comfort of your own home. You don't need to log in. It'll just show up in the lecture file, possibly tomorrow. We'll see. All right. If there's no questions, comments, or concerns at this point, I will let you go. And again, please reach out to me if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns. I'm here to help you out and make sure that we all understand everything. All right. Take care. I'll talk to you Thursday through a video. And then again, if you have questions, just anytime throughout the weekend or this week, let me know what's going on. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.